All right, I press the live button. Welcome back to the O Show, everything crypto and NFTs every day. I am your host with the most, WendyO. We have two awesome guests today. We have got Miss Tina and we have Mr. Ben, and we're going to have a great show. And the topic is going to be amazing news. Do not ignore the rise of Ripple Xrpl. And of course, we have a lot of news regarding all the brand new legislation that came in, all of those fun things. And it is Friday. I'm excited for the weekend. Ben, go ahead and just do a quick intro of yourself. And Tina, you go next, please.
Ladies first.
Okay, Tina, you go ahead, girl.
Yeah. Well, hi, I'm Tina, aka Tintin JPEG. I'm a builder, creator in the Web3 space. I founded my company, Tonic Labs, back in 2020 with the goal of just finding ways to improve user experience for crypto users and just finding ways to build on this awesome technology. And my team and I are actually very excited because Boomerang will be ready very soon. And it basically enables unrestricted communication for crypto users. Basically what blockchain and the data on the blockchain gives us the ability to communicate with one another. What Boomerang has been trying to solve is to enable unrestricted communication for crypto users with just the wallet address. So thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here today with you guys. Hi, Wendy's audience, and let's do this.
Awesome. Go ahead, Mr. Ben.
Yeah, so mine's not as interesting. I'm not necessarily building anything to further crypto adoption, but I just decided to start a YouTube channel back in 2019 to speculate on cryptocurrency prices. And I've tried to build out analytics tools ever since then. It's called Into the Cryptoverse. And that's basically my background in crypto.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Ben, since you're better at trading than I am, would you like to share your screen and kind of just give us a brief update of what you think we can expect this week, or even, well, actually this weekend, this week? And are we going back down to 27,000 or are we going straight to the moon?
I don't know that I would say I'm necessarily a better trader. I like to look at long-term trends in the market. Can you see my screen okay?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think I can't get away from this this seasonality aspect of crypto that we've seen really play out from one cycle to another. And I mean, Wendy, I know you were here in 2019 and we saw that rally in the first half of the year, and then we basically faded it in the second half. My guess is that we're going to see something similar this time.
Stay away from the $10,000 area. Everyone's going to freak out. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I'm not saying necessarily that, but it's interesting because every pre-halving year for Bitcoin, it falls below the 20-week SMA or the 21-week EMA, this bull market support band idea, in the August, September timeframe. So you can see in 2019, we fell below it in September. In 2015, we fell below it in August, and it was a double bottom. And then in 2011, we fell below it in August as well. And so every pre-halving year, Bitcoin tends to show some weakness around that time. And I actually think the reason isn't Bitcoin related, but it's more so stock market related. If you were to look at the year-to-date ROI for equities, we often get some type of correction around this time, in pre-election years, I should say, specifically in pre-election years. So if I were to add on, just looking at the S&P 500 year-to-date ROI, if you were to look at, let's say 2023, it's been a pretty good year so far, right? But look at 2019, we saw a correction around this time in the pre-election year. If you look at 2015, you can see there was a pretty big correction coming up around that August, September timeframe. 2011, same thing, pretty big drop off here in the S&P 500 around August or September. You can go back, really far and look basically at every single pre-election year. There's some form of a correction in that August, September timeframe. And normally that's what pushes Bitcoin below this level, right? And that level, that line in the sand is, of course, around that number you mentioned, around $27,000. So yeah, I do think there is a real risk of Bitcoin falling below that level as we get further on into the year.
Do you think that the $15,000 area was the bottom of this market?
That's a good question. I mean, so my view in June was that either the Q4 low, my view in June of 2022 was that June was not the low, but that the next low could be. But the reason why I haven't been willing to sort of unilaterally to say we can't go below it is because we also know that typically there is a secondary scare before the halving, right? Everyone gets excited about the halving, And then we end up joking about how the price normally halves before the halving, right? Like that's what happened in 2019. It's what happened in 2015. 2015 was a double bottom. 2020 was a higher low. It could be a lower low. I mean, especially if we get an inversion of the yield curve in, say, early 2024 or late 2023. So I don't know. I mean, I might put the odds at like 60-40. I don't want to definitively say. I do think there is a real risk of us potentially going lower in a future recessionary environment. Not to say that it's here right now. I mean, we just got GDP numbers out yesterday that show very clearly that the United States is not in a recession at the current time. But, you know, and even the yield curve inversion shows that normally when you look at an inverted yield curve, it's not, you know, it's not during the inversion process that you normally see a recession. It's upon the uninversion of it, right? Like, so this is looking at the spread on 3-month and 10-year yields. It's normally after they uninvert where the recession normally materializes. And we just haven't seen that yet. So I think the jury is out on that still, you know, at this point, Wendy. I do think there is a real risk of us taking out that low, but that doesn't mean we have to go down to like 10K necessarily, right? Like it could be a slightly lower low. It could end up being a double bottom. And in fact, one last thing, in 2015, it was in fact the correction started in around July. And it was about a 50% correction that put in a double bottom, right? And a 50% correction from here puts us back at 15K.
Okay, fair enough. So you guys, if we do experience a large drop, look to your trading and investing journals and make a decision. I'm also a big fan of setting limit orders as far down as possible because you never know what type of liquidity you're going to have on exchanges. And so if you can go ahead and capitalize on a drop that we may have, it could be a good idea. It may very well be. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into our first story here because there's some exciting stuff that's been happening. And I don't know about you guys, but I didn't really expect for us to have all of this kind of regulation coming into place like so fast. Like I felt like 2023 was going to be pretty negative, really. For regulation, just because some of the stuff I was hearing from some of my insider sources. But then again, we saw the SEC go really, really heavy after Binance and Coinbase and every single crypto asset exchange. But now we're starting to see the red folks step in and, you know, just be very supportive of crypto. I don't know if it's because of election season. One of the things that makes me nervous is a lot of these bills that they put through, there's not, you know, they say that it's doing X, Y, and Z, but in fact, it's not. And this right here from Eleanor was kind of surprising to me. New, after 13 hours of markup, the Clarity for Payment stablecoin bill has passed the Financial Committee with 34-19 votes, making it a second major piece of crypto legislation to pass the committee this week. So this happened earlier, and the bill received support from 5 Democrats, Rep. Hines, Gottmeyer, Meeks, Torres, and Nickel. And this is actually surprising because we have seen a lot of bearish sentiment from the blue side when it comes to crypto, because look who Mr. Biden put into office, Gary Gensler, and he absolutely hates crypto. And some people think he's a plant and whatnot when it comes to this. Tina, do you want to give your thoughts on the stablecoin bill passing? What do you think? What do you think this means? Do you think this is going to be a segue for a CBDC?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like everything's kind of being set up to be ready for CBDCs rolling in. I am definitely not personally a big fan of CBDCs myself, as the survey showed. It looks like a lot of people are, and I saw that it was a comparison of saying whoever is really supporting stablecoins, they're the same ones that have supported having government surveillance cameras in their home. And I thought that was an interesting comparison because that's how it comes off basically, because they're going to have control over your spending, over your monetary, any kind of move that you want to make with your money. So, but yeah, I agree. But overall with the Xrp ruling, I feel like what we kind of took away from that was that the SEC cares about big institutions. It cares about the richer people, because as we saw, they only went after the part that they sold to institutions. And that was a little bit of a turnoff for me, because it really shows that the average investor, the retail investor, really isn't being cared for at all. But yeah, overall, I think it was a great win for the space. I'm happy about that for sure, but I feel like there's just little key takeaways that for me.
No, I agree. Also, we have 246 concurrent viewers, but only 72 likes. You guys, please smash a like, get us up to at least 200. And then we have a poll at the top. will mainstream adoption of crypto begin? Or when will mainstream adoption of crypto begin? I put 2024 and 2025 and then sending everybody love and light. So 44% said 2024, 35% said 2025. I think it's going to come a little bit later. Also, too, Ryan said, wow, Ben is gorgeous. And Pew Pew says, wow, Tina is gorgeous. So you guys have got some fans in the chat. Ben, talk to us about the stablecoin regulation. What do you like as a trader? What do you think this means? And that's why when I ask you questions, talk to me as somebody who's actively trading traditional markets and crypto markets. Like, how do you, this type of news regarding regulation coming and stable coins, what are you going to expect with this?
For me, the whole SC and going back to what you were talking about as well, like the SEC and Ripple, like I do see that as all of as a pretty good win for the cryptocurrency asset class. The thing I've said for a long time is that we don't, even if cryptocurrencies are declared securities, it's not the end of the world. We just need clarity on what they are, right? I mean, right. I trade equities all the time. I mean, I trade securities all the time, which are equities. It's not the end of the world if some of the altcoins end up being or if they end up being securities. I think the bigger issue is that we just don't know what the hell it is we're even trading, because they won't tell us what it is, and they sort of lured it over us, like, hey, like we're you don't know if you're going to go out and buy an altcoin, only for that altcoin or that community gets sued a few weeks later by the SEC. So I generally think that regulation coming in is likely going to provide, the clarity that comes with it is actually long-term bullish, in my opinion. The chart I'm showing right here is actually the stablecoin market cap, or at least an approximation of the stablecoin market cap. So this is USDT plus USDC plus DAI plus the BUSD market cap. And actually it's been in a downtrend really since May of 2022. And so, I mean, you can see that money has been leaving the space for quite a long period of time. I would look towards future regulation potentially as a good thing for people to want to put money back into the cryptoverse. I haven't really seen, we've seen a lot of rotation of money in the cryptoverse from altcoins back to Bitcoin or the blue chips, Bitcoin and ETH, but I don't really think we've seen a lot of new money coming into the space. And I think that's fairly clear with the fact that the stablecoin market cap has dropped from around 160 billion to 118 billion over the last year. And I think before we really get back into a sustained bull run to new highs, we need to see this bottom out somewhere and start to go back up. Otherwise, it's just more representative of money leaving the space. So I think regulation is probably a good thing long term, as long as it's like proper regulation and not overstepping and killing innovation. Which is certainly what the SEC has been trying to do. Fortunately for Ripple, Ripple got a pretty big win, I think, in the last one. And so I think that the main risk right now in the altcoin market is perhaps no longer regulatory risk as much as it was. I think it's more so liquidity risk rather than regulatory risk at the current time.
Yeah, it's like we have so many altcoins in the market. It's just kind of getting ridiculous at this point, and most of them are going to go away. I see maybe like 1,000 of them staying. But I think that chart's interesting that you pulled up. I didn't even know that they had that. But the reason why it's interesting to me is that it has BUSD there, because I thought BUSD was kind of going away. I know a lot of people use it globally elsewhere, but I thought BUSD was kind of winding down with Paxos, because that's a Paxos-based product.
Yeah, I mean, I could pull the chart up for BUSD. It's gone down a lot. It hasn't. Let me just share my screen again so people can see it. It's gone from 23 billion or so down to about 3 billion. So it's almost dwindled back to zero. It's just slowly going down at this point.
Yikes, that's wild. So our next story, this actually kind of segues into what we're talking about. This is actually another massive win. This is from Warren Davidson. I like him a lot because of the types of bills that he's pushing through. I like the fact that he doesn't call to just remove Gary Gensler, but he also calls for a complete restructure of the SEC, appointing 3 blue and 3 red. And the reason why that's important is because the current structure of the SEC is kind of dangerous. I feel like I don't like when they just randomly, when we have somebody from power put another person into a powerful position without a vote. I feel like America should be more, taxpayers should have more of a say as to what happens. That's why we have the voting system. So it's a little bit upsetting to me that we haven't restructured the SEC yet. But I do know that one of the another bill that was proposed by people in a similar category as Mr. Warren, they wanted to give the CFTC more power over crypto instead of the SEC, which I think is a good idea, because I feel like the SEC has really, really just abused their power. But I also do think we need a brand new entity to kind of govern crypto. Like we need 3 blue, we need 3 red, we need some crypto attorneys, some crypto experts to come in there just to give some better, kind of ideas when we're talking about coming up with regulation for crypto. And Warren Davidson said, last night, the Financial Committee passed my bill to protect self-custody. Those attacking self-custody oppose infinite freedom. They want someone they control to control your assets. And I agree with him on this. And I think it's important for people to be able to practice self-custody. One of the issues I have with the Bitcoin ETFs coming out is that I think what they're going to do, even though it's going to be great, it's going to put money into the market. It's going to allow the average investor to have more access to Bitcoin. But one of the things that we're losing is our liberty and our ability to kind of force self-custody on people, for people to actually take control of their own actions and do the self-custody thing, because self-custody is very, very, very important. So as far as this bill, protecting self-custody, Tina, what are your thoughts on this?
Honestly, also while you were mentioning the ETF, what also scares me about the ETF, I know everybody's excited about it, and also
I'm not.
Okay, good. But it scares me because now our crypto Bitcoin will also be moving with the stock market, because let's say BlackRock is selling this ETF to its customers, so they need to buy those Bitcoins to back it. And once there is something volatility in the stock market and the users want to exit out of crypto, then what happens to our market? They're going to dump this Bitcoin on the us crypto users. So that's just my initial thought. And it's interesting because everybody's super excited and trying to push this forward, but I feel like that will just get us more correlated with the stock market. But yeah, I feel like everybody should practice self-custody, but I also agree with Ben. There is no liquidity in the market, but regulations will help with that. People don't know what they can or cannot do anymore, and it scares a lot of people. And what scares us still is that government usually takes it too far with regulations. So I feel like there is a huge need for a third institution that's going to oversee crypto, something that understands the technology and doesn't use these outdated laws to do it. And I also, for self-custody, I feel like we need to do a better job of putting better products out there with better user experience, because I understand it is complicated right now. I understand it is hard for people to understand right now. And that's kind of how I lost a lot of my money on Voyager, because when I entered crypto, I didn't want to deal with, these hot wallets or cold wallets. It just didn't look that user friendly to me. So I started with Voyager and I lost a lot of money on Voyager. So yeah, I think we need to do a better job.
Yeah, I've got hit by all the exchanges. It was horrible. I mean, I've got most of my stuff in self-custody, but it's like, I just know, I remember when all that Celsius drama was happening. I live streamed. I was like, you guys take all of your crypto off exchanges now. It was like the weekend of May 27th, I think. But Ben, kind of talked to us about this, this idea of allowing for self-custody. Because I want to say when Sam Bankman was around, his like crypto guidelines that he was trying to push wanted to really kind of take that away from people. And I do think that people deserve to have access of their own money. I know we're getting a CBDC that's coming. And that what scares me about that is they can just directly go in. Like, let's say you run a red light and you get a little fine citation for that. They can directly deduct that money from your account without you going to trial and saying, hey, the camera that took the picture of me doing this is wrong. But talk to us a little bit about this bill or this idea.
I definitely agree with you guys. Like CBDCs are, I mean, first of all, they likely are coming, whether we like it or not. I think it's going to be something we just have to live with. But as far as self-custody goes, I think it's really important for Bitcoin. I mean, if 2022 taught us anything, it was just the importance of self-custody, not your keys, not your Bitcoin. And that has been something that's been touted for more than just this cycle. I think it's been touted in, many cycles as well. But I think as people who have voices in the cryptoverse, we should be even more vocal going forward about not your keys, not your Bitcoin, because there's always a risk that even these other institutions could make with regards to Bitcoin, and you really just don't know. I mean, you really, if you don't have access to the Bitcoin yourself, then it can be taken away from you, right? It can be, and I think a lot of people just assume that everything is safe because it sounds good, right? They put their Bitcoin on FTX or Celsius or BlockFi or Voyager or wherever, because it sounds safe, everyone's doing it, and then before you know it, it's all gone. So I think it's very important that we maintain self-custody. As far as the spot ETF, I mean, like if it gets approved, it will likely. I mean, I don't know the short-term implications of it getting approved. I mean, it could end up acting as a top for all we know, just as like the CME when that one was approved in 2017, it acted as a top. But in the long term, I imagine that it would bring more money into the space. So I think we would at least need to respect the idea that, look, it probably would bring more money into the space. It probably would bring a new generation of crypto investors into the space, right? Like it might be this next cycle's, next generation of crypto investors. But I think it'll be our job to try to educate them as much as possible that, hey, we know it's easy for you to go just buy the SPY ETF, but you don't own the underlying Bitcoin. And by the way, if you go buy the SPY ETF, you're still getting ripped off because there's going to be management fees, right? And they're going to take, some basis points away from you. You're much better off just owning the underlying asset, not only because you have it in case something bad happens, like you have your keys, but also because you're going to be paying fees on something that you really don't need to be paying fees on, right? It does not take very long to just figure out how to self-custody your Bitcoin.
No, I definitely agree. And I'll grift off the Bitcoin spot ETF all day long, make as much money as possible because it will impact the Bitcoin price positively. Also, too, you guys, we have 329 concurrent viewers, but only 141 likes. We should have at least 300 likes. So if you're watching this, you need to smash a like. I hate asking you guys to do this, but you need to smash the like. The reason why is the more likes we have is pushes us out farther into YouTube, and we're getting people free information that they can continue to do their due diligence on, see what works for them, see what doesn't works for them. And to me, that's super important. We want to be able to get as much information out as fast as possible. And then with this next story, this one is a very interesting one. It's more crypto regulation. I know it's not sexy. I know it's super boring, guys, but we do have to talk about it. This one right here is U.S. Senate passes $886 billion military spending bill with crypto AML provision. I don't know why we put two different things together in one bill. I don't know why we can't just focus on one thing at a time. It seems ridiculous. I feel like America is well known for this. Every time we put a bill in, we just add all this extra crap in. But anyways, the Senate passed the 2024 National Defense Authorization Act, NDAA, includes a provision that tightens oversight over financial institutions engaged in crypto trading. It targets crypto mixers and anonymity enhancing, I can never say that word, crypto assets, requires the Secretary of Treasury to create examination standards for crypto. Amendment was presented by bipartisan group of senators. 2023 Loomis Gilbert Responsible Financial Innovation Act and Senator Warren and Senator Marshall Digital Anti-Money Laundering Act introduced in 2022. The NDAA takes pieces from Loomis Gilbert Responsible Financial Innovation Act and Warren's Digital Asset Anti-Money Laundering Act introduced in 2022. Do either of you guys want to comment on this at all? Because it's kind of a lot to go off of, and it's very it's super confusing. We don't even have to dive like super deep into it because it's so confusing. It's like, why would we give a bunch of money to the military, but then we're talking about crypto regulation, and they're like, what in the actual heck is this? Like, why are they doing this? Why are they making it so confusing? I'm confused too. I can cover the next story while you guys look into that, because unless anybody has anything to say now, because I think it's just really, really confusing. We can play this really ridiculous clip. Well, I'm not even going to play it. The White House says Biden has done more for the U.S. economy and American people than any other president, which I think is ridiculous because it's been like an absolute mess the last 2 years. I feel like we haven't gotten anything done besides just waste people's time and money, especially the taxpayers. Any you guys want to comment on this story at all, or should we go to the next?
Just a small comment from me, I guess, is, crypto is way more transparent than fiat. That's the first thing that comes to my mind. So just going out of your way to, fund military to protect crypto users is a little, everything is on the blockchain. You can track everything. So I think that's just my initial thoughts. But yeah.
Ben, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think it's pretty clear that we're just in the and then they fight you phase. We've seen this so much over the last 12 to 18 months where there's constantly provisions going into bills about crypto. And I mean, remember last year when we were all worried that proof of stake was going to be banned in the United States, and it just seems like there's something new every single week. I just think we're in the and then they fight you phase. I mean, I think if anything, it probably just provides more validation to the asset class. If the asset class, weren't legitimate or didn't have a future, I honestly don't think they'd be spending nearly as much time on it as they are.
Yeah, I feel like they're kind of scrambling for control. People don't really know what's going on. They're trying to figure things out. But this one is another bit. We're going to get into XRP next, you guys, but I want to cover this one because I feel like this story is super, super, super important and nobody's talking about it. So this story right here, this is from John Deaton. This is a big deal. Remember what I said about Caitlin and Custodia Bank's battle with the Fed. After considering choke point 2.0, Caitlin's fight is arguably just as important, if not more, as the Ripple XRP case. The Fed, just like the SEC, has been ignoring its statutory mandate. The court cases threaten to end the Fed's arbitrary and capricious conduct in the near future. Crypto law plans to cover these cases in more depth. So what John is referring to is Caitlin Long's tweet over here. Basically, she said that the Fed is facing 3 lawsuits over Fed master accounts in the 2nd, 9th, and 10th circuits. Deaton responded saying that the Fed, just like the SEC, has been ignoring the statutory mandate. He said the lawsuits Caitlin mentioned threatened to end the Fed's arbitrary and unpredictable content. He claimed Caitlin's fight is just as important, if not more, as the XRP case, and Deaton's legal group, Crypto Law, is going to cover it. But basically, the quick recap here is in January 2023, the Fed denied Custodia Bank's application to secure a master account and became a member of the Federal Reserve. Fed claimed Custodia lacked the federal deposit insurance, and Custodia's dependence on crypto market made it a danger to customers in itself. There's a lot more to talk about here, but do you guys remember when we had the banking contagion that happened and nobody, like, they kind of just blamed it on crypto? But then we keep seeing, I forget what bank it was yesterday, but we keep seeing a lot of these smaller banks go under or get acquired. And this was something that used to happen a lot back in 2008 when we had all that drama. So it's very interesting to see these stories not be pushed out to mainstream media, and also just not being talked about heavily, because this is kind of important. It seems like it's a direct overreach of the Federal Reserve and, the powers that be. Tina, do you want to comment on this?
Well, I just feel like this is kind of a step towards CBDCs. Smaller and medium banks will eventually go under, be taken over by bigger banks. They already have the Fed now in place for, just quick payments like that. So I feel like these are all kind of steps that they're kind of preparing to get CBDCs off. But yeah, it's just really annoying that when the bank collapses happened, obviously it was crypto's fault for some reason, but nobody really even does anything to protect the investors. But yeah, my initial thoughts.
Before we go to Ben, you guys, we have 380 concurrent viewers, but only 200 likes. Get us up to 300. Stop the grifting and help support the channel. When you support the channel by likes, this helps push this out. So please smash the like for us and get this going. Ben, give us your thoughts on this particular story regarding the Fed, because it seems a little bit predatory.
I think, when we had the regional banking crisis and they blamed crypto for it, I look back in history and you go back like decades, right? All you see are sporadic periods where the banks collapse, right? And there's bank runs and all this sort of stuff is happening, and people lose their money, people lose faith in the current system, and then there's sort of a reset, right, where we have to start over. Crypto has only been around for 10 years. So, you can't blame crypto for something that has systematically happened throughout history.
But that's the easy way. That's
right.
The easiest thing to do.
Of course it is. But I mean, if you go back to the financial crisis, look at the financial crisis, we had a massive collapse in banks. Crypto didn't even exist then. And in fact, it was out of the banking crisis, out of the financial crisis in 2008, that Bitcoin was in fact born. That was what was born. What I find fascinating here is if you look at say a regional banking ETF, let's say KRE, when it was going down, Bitcoin was going up, right? So when the narrative of Bitcoin is responsible for all these woes and stuff in crypto, that's not really that true, because again, that's not what the market said. As regional banks were collapsing, Bitcoin was skyrocketing. Now we have regional banks bouncing back up and Bitcoin is sort of fading a little bit. But I think the bigger issue here is the Fed has raised interest rates the fastest they ever have in history. Basically, maybe there was one other time that was faster, but it's essentially the fastest that they've ever raised in history. We know that we're looking at an inverted yield curve. If you actually track ROI of S&P from yield curve inversion, the one that we're tracking the closest right now is the financial crisis, which if something like that were to happen in the next 1 to 2 years, where banks go under because they just can't withstand all this tightening in monetary policy, I mean, that could actually be a very bullish case for Bitcoin. I mean, look what happened in March when regional banks were collapsing. Bitcoin was skyrocketing. So I think that crypto is just sort of made to be the scapegoat. It's sort of an easy target to say. And I mean, I know there are some bad actors in crypto, but crypto in and of itself, I don't think is bad. It's just that it sometimes can attract people who like to exploit it for things. But if crypto didn't exist, they would just have used another tool to show that same type of behavior.
Got it. All right, let's get into the next story here. This one is the exciting one. Okay. So here we go. Ripple takes notice of South Korea, looks to boost XRPL adoption. The company behind the cryptocurrency XRP and XRPL ledger is partnering with a local research firm to shore up its footing in South Korea. Let me read a couple more details about this. So Ripple is partnering with Seoul-based firm Catalyst to research to bolster awareness of XRPL. Both will develop XRPL education and programs for devs, will host workshops, meetups, and hackathons to help integrate dApps on the XRPL or on XRPL. So for me, I'm seeing a lot of adoption, especially in Southeast Asia, which we all know is kind of booming when it comes to crypto. And now that the lawsuit's over, we keep hearing about all these other stories. And I feel like even though it's the US that's kind of, taken a hit with XRP, a lot of other countries have continued to keep building with it. I know a lot of people think that XRP is going to be used for the CBDCs and whatnot. But I do think that all of the news that we're hearing with XRP and XRPL is good because it helps the holders long term. But as far as the actual technology and as far as this actual story, do you guys want to talk about, the strides that Ripple has made, or do we think that Ripple's going to stay around, or what do we think?
I think it's a great one for the space in general. It sets a precedent for the other crypto coins and companies as well. But I mean, I think we've got a long way to see XRP mooning or the bull run for XRP, because you've been seeing that all over Twitter for some reason ever since they won the case. I think that, just trade responsibly, just know that we're still in a bear market, but it is a great win for the space. In my eyes, I just didn't like the fact that it kind of showed that there's being more disclosures provided to institutional investors, the richer people, than the average investor.
Ben, go ahead, talk to us.
I mean, I honestly, depending on what the bias is, I feel like I could actually pretty clearly make a bullish case or a bearish case on XRP, depending on what someone's bias is. I think that in general, and from a technical perspective, I could make the bullish or bearish case, not from more of a fundamental perspective. But from the fundamental perspective, I mean, I'm guessing that XRP will stick around. I don't necessarily think it's going to be used in a CBDC. I think that there's sort of been a weight lifted from it recently after this lawsuit has at least seen some form of a conclusion. Not to say that it ends there. I mean, they could always appeal and whatnot, but I still remember in late 2020 when everything was basically taking off, and XRP was too, right? And then SEC sued Ripple, and then XRP collapsed, and then it basically had tempered returns for the entire bull market because it had the idiosyncratic risk of being sued by the SEC. And now that is kind of behind them, at least some parts of it are. I think that we saw XRP double in price recently. I think that it's basically just gone to where perhaps it would have been had the SEC not sued them several years ago, right? Maybe it would have gone up higher and then come back down to these levels. In the grand scheme of things, whether if you want to make the bullish case or the bearish case, I think the hard part for me with the altcoin market in general, not just any specific altcoin like XRP, but XRP is an altcoin, is just that we have seen just net liquidity dry up, and what I've mostly seen is when one coin is going up, when XRP or Litecoin or Matic or Cardano, when one's going up, you have others going down, right? And so the overall market cap of the altcoin market, total 3, hasn't really changed that much. And so it's hard to make the case that XRP is necessarily about to break out, on a crazy rally. Although you could find some technical charts to support it.
I feel
like Tina.
I feel like the bullish case is just see how the team builds and, just progresses the platform from now on. Now that they have the freedom, where is this going to go compared to the new technology too? That's what I'm looking at.
Yeah, no, I agree. Well, you guys, I'm a bit tired, so we're going to end the stream because I want to go take a nap. I've got some stuff I got to do today. But really quickly, thank you guys so much for coming on. And if you're watching this, make sure to smash a like. We have both Ben's and Tina's information down below. You can go ahead and follow them, support them. Ben, 30 seconds or less, where can people find you? And then Tina, you take it away after Ben.
I have a YouTube channel, just Benjamin Cowan, and my website is intothecryptoverse.com.
Awesome. Go ahead, Tina.
My Twitter is TintinJPEG, and the product that's coming out is Boomerang DApp. So if you need any marketing needs for unrestricted communication for marketing needs, showcasing your code or your artwork for a limited time, giving your community alpha or limited access, I think this is something that you should look into. Thank you so much for having me. And thank you, Ben. It was so great seeing you guys again.
Awesome. You guys have a great weekend. I've got something special for you dropping at 3:30 p.m. PST. Make sure to check it out. I have to talk about how I was wrong on something because somebody called me out on the channel. So you guys better take a look at that. We have 400 concurrent viewers, only 253 likes. Let's get us up to 500 after the stream. But anyway, sending everybody love and light. WendyO.